Welcome to today's episode where we're going to be talking about the importance of embracing discomfort and the process of overcoming adversity. Today I'm joined by Jessye Jackson. She's a black belt under Alex Sandoval for Carlson Gracie team. She began her martial arts journey in July 2012, and within 2 months of starting, she was already competing on the mat. Her impressive career highlights include multiple first-place finishes at major tournaments like the American Nationals, Pan Ams, and Nogi Worlds. Beyond her martial arts experience and accomplishments, Jessye is a single mom of 2 boys and works a full-time job in finance. A lifelong athlete with a background in dance, softball, soccer, volleyball, and other sports, Jessye continues to practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and enjoys staying active. Welcome, Jessye.
Oh, hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. One of the themes that stands out to me about you is that if I met you on the street, I would never suspect that you are in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I am small and just like regular looking.
So for our listeners who are new to the martial arts space, can you tell them a little bit more about Jiu-Jitsu and your journey getting into that, and how long did it take you to get your black belt?
Well, the journey is definitely long. It's a long, hard journey to get to any belt, but it's fun. It's fun. It's addicting. First saw it in a tournament. I remember I went to a tournament and the first thing I said was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that." And the next day I was training and I never stopped. And I remember at that tournament I started just laughing like, "Okay, you haven't even started. You're gonna be a white belt for a long time." So I just got it in my head, like I was tunnel vision on just the goal. Pretty much I got tunnel vision on being world champion. So I competed so much. I trained so much. I was training like twice a day. I was in between that. I was lifting. I was going hiking. I was running. I was doing everything for jujitsu. It was so addicting to me in the beginning. It took me 11 years to get to a black belt. Nothing about it was easy, but it was all worth it. If you really want that, you see no obstacles other than just like giving them away, trying to push them away.
I'd say one of the biggest obstacles in that journey, I would imagine, is yourself. What is something that helped you to face that obstacle of yourself?
I remember when since I was young, I quit a lot of things because of like the fear inside, like what would they think, or do they think I'm good enough, or am I really good enough? And so sometimes I would just quit things. And with jujitsu, it was so challenging for me that I said, I don't want to. Every time I did want to quit, it was like, no, why did you start in the beginning? What are you gonna do from now if you quit? What are you gonna do now? It's like the thing that stops me from becoming lazy, from keeping going for my goals, because there's times when I don't even want to train. And so I tell myself, okay, I don't want to train. I can stay home and do what? I'm going to lay down, be lazy, and then what? So I force myself for everything. I force myself in uncomfortable situations where I'm going to be uncomfortable mentally, emotionally, because I've had so many fears in my life where it has stopped me to do so many things that I don't want to fear anymore. And the only thing that you can do to overcome your fears is to face them and force yourself to overcome them and learn from them, and saying that it's okay that to have them, but they're not going to stop me.
I love that. Allowing yourself to have the fear and to feel the fear, but not letting the fear define you.
Yes. Like it's okay to have fears, because I still have them. I have them for many things. And it's the mental work that you have to do with yourself to let yourself stop yourself, because anybody can tell you to stop. I've gotten told so many times to stop doing jiu-jitsu by my parents, some of my friends, many family members. And I've thought about it, but I haven't. And it has been totally worth it in every way, mentally, spiritually, physically.
I think often the case for the people who are closest to us to have the tendency to shut down our dreams instead of support them, and having that mindset to stay true to what you want, regardless, can be super powerful and necessary to achieve those dreams. So what is something that you would suggest for other people in that situation where they're going for their dreams, they they have a goal in mind, but the people closest to them are the ones telling them to not pursue that?
That is tough. That's a good question. I listen a lot. I pay attention to what people say. I like to know their opinions, but now I know the difference about taking an opinion and just listening to an opinion and just letting it marinate. It may be a good opinion that maybe I should quit, but there's also the possibility that I shouldn't. So I'm not just stubborn on my side of my choices, but I also see other people's opinions, other people's sides. Will it be good for my journey? Because it may be better for their journey, but it may not be better for mine, you know? So now have learned to let opinions of people just sit there instead of just taking them in and making them mine. And so when the people, like sometimes my mom, especially the moms, because they worry about their kids getting hurt. Like I've hurt so bad before. And she said, why do you like to get hurt? I can hurt you over here. And you need to stop. Like you have kids. What are you gonna do? You have a job. You can't work now. You can't even walk because like there was times where I couldn't even walk. And it's like, okay, I understand. I understand your worry. I am okay, but I love the sport. It is my passion. It is what is keeping me sane and would like you to respect it as I respect you, the things that you do. Your wishes, you go out and hang out with your friends. You go out and hang out at the casino or whatever. Like that's your choice. My choice is to train, and that's what I love to do. So I have always chosen jiu-jitsu.
It's so important to have those boundaries with ourselves and with the people closest to us in our lives, and working on those communication skills, I think, is super beneficial. You mentioned the different benefits of jiu-jitsu for your well-being, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. Can you talk a little bit more about how pursuing jiu-jitsu or even just anything at that level, how does that help strengthen you spiritually?
Oh my gosh, the discipline that you get from jiu-jitsu from the beginning, it's completely different. It's lots of repetition of doing the same thing, and it shapes your world. It's a totally completely different way of seeing it. And so you implement those things that you learn into the world, in the self-control that I have learned from it as well. I've learned to stay calm because I used to be like a lot more like mentally explosive and impulsive. It has to help me to actually chill and think about what I'm gonna do instead of just reacting. You can definitely save lots of arguments and bad situations if you implement your discipline that you've had in jiu-jitsu to your life.
Probably every single person who has consistently stayed with jiu-jitsu or some difficult sport like has experienced that, where you begin to develop that sense of calm and responsiveness instead of reacting to everything. I think when people first start out with jiu-jitsu, rolling together, they can be like really spastic and people are just out of control, or they're trying to control everything, and so they're just so reactive, and it can be even more dangerous like for them and the other person. So taking that off of the mats, if you're approaching life in that same way, like you're gonna hurt yourself and other people if you're just reacting to everything and you don't have that sense of calm and thorough thinking.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
I met Jessye at a local wellness and recovery center where they do cold plunges, compression sleeves, and red light therapy, saunas. Can you tell us about your journey with the wellness and recovery side of things, and how do you find that balance between pushing yourself and taking that pause that's necessary in your life?
That's something that I did have to learn because, like I said before, I was very impulsive. I just wanted to train. And everybody would tell me, calm down, Jessye, calm down. And I was one of those savvy people when I was a white belt. And I would even hurt people. And I was like, yeah, I did that. Now I'm like, what was I thinking? Now I do calm down and chill and take the time to recover. Recovering is such a important part of jiu-jitsu because we put our bodies through so much pain. I've injured my knees really bad for several years, and it's tore ligaments, and I've gotten stem cell shot therapy on both of them, and it helped me a lot. It helped me to keep fighting and doing other competitions, but I was not taking care of them as I should. So I kept injuring, and it was more of like my ego, probably like wanting to like keep going, and I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But this is why we have to be so well rounded when it comes to knowing how to train, not just how to train, but knowing when to train and when to rehab and have a good cycle to be a good athlete. You can't just keep pushing, 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 pushing. And so that's something that is really important that I suggest everybody to do, to rehab your body to prevent injuries. Now I get injured so much less than when I was lower belts, white belt, blue belt, because I know the anatomy of the body and how the body moves and which way, instead of just forcing it and just being stubborn.
How can people implement that even if they aren't doing jujitsu or a sport? For example, people who have that tendency to just go, 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 and they're just working all the time and they have goals to accomplish and they have a hard time resting and pausing. How can people find that balance in their personal lives?
I take it to the heart when it comes to that. If you're not okay, nothing in your surroundings will be okay. I take care of myself first, and then I know that if I'm okay, I will be okay with everybody else. I know that if I love myself, I can love everybody else. I learned that if I don't take care of me, everything else will be chaos. So if it's chaos in here, it'll be chaos out there. You need to take time for yourself. I meditate every single day in the morning and stretch and exercise, and you have to eat healthy. And that's something that I learned from the discipline in jiu-jitsu. But if you really don't take time for yourself, it's all gonna catch up to you, and it'll explode one of these days, with stress or with illness or something. But you really need to take care of yourself, mentally, spiritually, and physically, to have a good, healthy life.
I think it's really easy, especially for women, to just have that mindset of being selfless and like wanting to take care of everybody else around us. But I've heard to be able to be truly selfless, you need to be selfish first.
Yeah,
and in a way where it's supporting you and it's allowing you to show up as your full self instead of trying to give from a place that you don't even have in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it does sound a little selfish, but I mean, it doesn't take much time to do you first, just a little bit, 15 minutes a day. Okay.
Yeah. We each deserve it.
You deserve it. You do.
Yeah, I gotta like tell ourselves I'm worthy of this, like I deserve this, and this is something that I need.
And we do so much for others, like for the people, for our jobs, for our kids, for our friends, for our parents, and you have to do you first too.
Mm-hmm. We also teach other people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. And if we are putting ourselves last, other people, they're probably going to put us last too.
Exactly. I have been through that where I just give, 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 give. And then there was a time where I just like, I felt so empty. I'm like, everybody's just asking so much from me, and I can't even give to myself. So yeah, remember you first.
Yeah, flip that switch inside. I come first, and I'm gonna be proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the biggest thing that's helped you overcome adversity in your life is putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and overcoming the fear. Was there a moment where you decided that that was the approach you're going to take to life, or did it just kind of happen naturally?
I think I started taking that approach since early on. I noticed that there's a lot of things that would scare me, and I am, and if it scares me, I'm one of those people that I freeze and I just keep it to myself, and I get mental, in my head, and think of every possibility, everything that could happen, everything. And instead of making assumptions, have stopped doing that so much. And when I feel that I have a fear towards something, I know that it's something that could either help me in the future or that will hurt me in the future. So if I know that it's gonna help me, I will go do it and I will beat it. There's no fear that will stop me. And there's other ones, that I've pushed away and don't belong to me anymore. But that is something that I learned from when I was small, because of so many things that I've been fearful. I did karate with my sister when I was young, and she used to always beat me. And then we stopped, and I used to see her compete, and I would be scared to compete, right? And so when I started jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I need to be out there. Every time I compete, it reminds me of her so much because she helped me through my fears. She wasn't afraid. So what would I need to be afraid of? And it's just little by little. I used to even be afraid of cats, and now I love cats. So it's little things, little fears that you can overcome to overcome bigger ones, you know?
Yeah, it kind of builds
momentum. That helped me so much.
I love that focus of recognizing the opportunity for growth in the discomfort and having those other examples in our lives, like your sister. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like to compete on a world stage at that level?
Oh, that was so cool. That was really cool. I've competed. The first one was in San Francisco. That was so fun. I had to lose a couple of pounds the day before, and it was miserable. I couldn't eat. Everybody was already competing and eating already. We went out for pizza, and I had to eat spinach with green bell peppers. And then I went to the gym and I had to lose weight, and I was crying, and they were like, no, you can do this. And they pushed me in the steam room, and they were like, no, you can't come out until you lose some weight. And I'm like, I just want to eat. And so the next day that I went, I was on weight, but I couldn't eat. I was right on. And so it was really bad. And it was like around 1, but I didn't compete till like 3. But they were running super fast. So I didn't even know I was competing, and they were calling my name. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go now. I feel like shit. And so I went in and I beat the first girl, but I was just by, I think, advantages, I believe. And then I went on to the second one, and I think I beat her by advantages as well. I just was feeling like crappy. And then I went to the, what is it called? Where we hang out.
The bullpen?
The bullpen, there we go. The bullpen. And I was just like miserable, and I was crying, and my coach came and he's like, no, it's just one more fight. You got this, you got this. And I said, okay. I felt like seriously like passing out. And so I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? And I was telling the runners, like, hey, when am I going to fight? I got my final fight. Let's go. He's like, oh, you're coming up. And I didn't come up. I checked on my phone that the other side of the bracket, girls didn't show up. Some didn't make weight. And my whole side showed up. And so I found out that I was a world champion sitting on the ground in the bullpen.
No way.
Yeah. And so I came to my coach. I'm like, look, I'm a world champion. He was waiting by the mat. It was funny. But the second time was really cool. I was actually fighting alone because my coach couldn't come, and I fought, and I dislocated my shoulder, and I couldn't move it, and I had the girl in a triangle, and I wanted to sweep her, right? And I couldn't move because I didn't know what was wrong. So I'm like, what is wrong with me? And I told the ref, like, my shoulder's dislocated. And since he's Brazilian, he couldn't understand me. He's like, and I'm like, yeah. So I had to like grab my own shoulder, and I twisted and I put it back myself. Oh, and then I swept her, and then I beat her. That was really cool. And that's when I became world champion. I was like, and I'm like, please don't lift this arm up, to lift up my hand. I lifted it up. I'm like, oh my God, no. But yeah, it was awesome. It's really cool to it's a crazy feeling.
What was that celebration process like for you?
The celebration, it was more like I think I built it in my head a little bit too much about what it was to be a world champion. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally became one, it was like, okay, what?
Right.
Now we gotta keep going. It's really, really cool to be able to say that, not just to the jiu-jitsu people, but like people out there and other women who think they're very vulnerable or not enough. We can all achieve our goals.
Yeah, it's easy to either be our own worst enemy or our greatest cheerleader, and it just depends on the stories we tell ourselves and if we believe we're worthy and capable, right?
Oh yeah, the stories we tell ourselves is everything.
I wanted to transition to talking a little bit about parenting as a single mother. I grew up with a single mom, and she worked full-time to support us. And whatever you're comfortable sharing with us today, I just wanted to ask, what's that experience been like for you?
I thought that I could do everything as a person. When I first started jiu-jitsu, and to a couple of years ago, I was very selfish when it came to everything. I was juggling everything. I wish I would have taken more care of myself and paid attention more to being a better parent as well. I There's a good balance that we all need to have. I feel like I'm a good mom, but I can always do better. I want to provide for my children and give them everything they want and be able to teach them or be a good role model for them and have them say like, yeah, I'm school or she's a good mom.
Mhm.
So just pay attention to your kids and always give them love instead of criticizing them. They really don't know. They're learning as we are. Like I'm learning to be a parent as I go. Just listen to them, let them be and be there for them.
That was beautiful advice. You mentioned taking care of yourself and how that can influence your ability to parent and also I think how your kids see you. What are some other things that parents and especially single moms can do to better show up as they want to?
I would say don't overthink about what you're doing so much because I did and it stopped me from so many things. You really do learn it as you go and the advice I would give is just to be with your kids. Don't tell them what to do, but like show them. They learn more from the things that you do instead of things that you say. Of course, the communication is important, but the things that you do around them will affect so much. And if you're not around them, they will not be around you.
Yeah.
I think actions speak louder than words to me
Mm-hmm.
at times.
100%. I'm sure I'm sure that your two boys look up to you a great deal and it might not feel like it sometimes. I don't have any kids myself, but I know that
Yeah.
relationship between parents and children aren't always the best, but especially as kids grow up and we've all experienced this, but we look back on the people who raised us or the people who influenced us and we gain a deeper appreciation for everything that they did. So, I hope that you're able to give yourself that grace and credit and be able to own the ways that you're able to show up for them.
And I really hope that I am. I sure hope that I am. I love them so much.
What's something other people in the community can do to better support single parents?
Involve them in the things that they do because kids are just learning. They're gonna say they don't like something, but there's always other things that you can try. They always look up to us so much, and they will mostly do the things that we do. So make sure that what you do is healthy. I've always been in sports. I've been lifting since I was like 13 years old, and all my kids do now is like lift and exercising and walking for 3 miles a day just to keep them busy and tired. I really think it's like the example you give them, and instead of just let them play and let them be by themselves, like yes, let them do that, but also give them a discipline and not just like the discipline that you give them, but the discipline that other people or in sports can give them because they also tend to like not listen to a parent because they're mad at them or something. And when you hear the same thing from another person, it's like, okay, maybe they're right. So I would say like give them adversity, that way that they can be used to it. Don't close them up. Don't
You phrase that adversity as like a gift, and I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Like giving children like adversity, just ways where you can help them grow their discipline and hard work and things like that. Is there something that you would tell your younger self in the midst of her greatest adversities?
definitely. I would tell myself that it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. And I would definitely tell myself to don't be afraid. It's gonna be okay.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners?
I love to thank you for the time. I would like to say to definitely try Jiu-Jitsu. It will open up your mind. It will take you many places. I have so many awesome friends all over the world because of Jiu-Jitsu. I can travel anywhere and be with people who have good hearts and will share everything with you and take you everywhere if you are willing to just get outside of your little comfort zone, your little bubble. Jiu-Jitsu is amazing. for the body, the mind, the soul, to feel comfortable with yourself and not look like a vulnerable person when you're walking on the streets. I've heard so many stories of girls getting assaulted, and I tell them, like, that has never happened to me. And it's because of the way that you make yourself look. If you look like you're shy, don't look at me,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get picked on, you're gonna get assaulted, you are an easy target. But if you walk, with a good posture, your shoulders up, you're not afraid of the world, nobody's gonna mess with you.
There are so many factors that go into situations like that. I definitely agree with you, where the way that we're portraying ourselves to the world definitely can influence how other people perceive us. And so part of that, like self-defense, is having that confidence and self-awareness, which jujitsu definitely helps anybody to grow and achieve in their own life. Thank you so much, Jessye. I really appreciate you being on the episode with us today. And if anybody is wanting to connect further with Jessye, you can find her on Instagram. I will share her link down below.
Thank you, Jess. I really appreciate you and what you do for the community. The things that you do is beautiful. I appreciate you doing this because not a lot of people like have the guts to do that. So I appreciate you for everything that you've done and what you've gone through, because of so many people that you are able to help. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we will see you on the next episode. Till then, remember that you are worthy and capable of more.